Hey guys. I wanted to send you just a little follow-up to yesterday's lesson because you may have noticed that I have this tendency to sort of run out of time during lessons, and I get so wrapped up in doing whatever activity it is that we're doing that I sort of, I guess you could say this is a major weakness of mine with my teaching, that I don't always have time to really pull things together nicely at the end of the lesson and kind of draw conclusions and really so that you can have a good idea of like what exactly was the purpose of that lesson. And I sort of had that feeling with yesterday's lesson when we were talking about social groups and our social identity. And I felt like I wasn't really sure at the end of the lesson or when the lesson was over whether you totally understood what was the point of that lesson. And so that's why I'm recording just a short video to send to you to hope to demonstrate very briefly what was the point of the lesson. So let's see, here we go. I made this nice little presentation here in order to demonstrate better. There it is. Okay, so this is a little follow-up in talking about social identity. And so if you remember, you guys put together these nice little pages, these slides, on different aspects of social identity: family, location, talent and professional experiences, personal interests and hobbies, and personal values. And so I wanted to make sure you understood that like these different aspects of our identity really are what make up how people see us and categorize us. Whether we like it or not, I'm not even going to get into whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just a part of human nature that, say, for example, when you meet someone, so like I kind of did this for myself, people categorize you according to the social groups that you belong to. So if people were to say, oh, well, like, you know, Sassy Yona, who is she? So you would probably say, oh, yeah, well, she's female, she's American. You might even say, she's like Anglo-Israeli. She's, I'm a mother, a wife, a daughter, an aunt, a sister. All those things are part of my identity. People say, you know her, she's a teacher, she's a diplomacy teacher. She lives in Reut. So all of these things, these different aspects of who I am, make up my identity and how people see me. And so this morning, I really got to thinking about this. And you know how it is when you have a lesson and then suddenly something happens in your life and it really becomes relevant to whatever it was that you were doing in a certain lesson. And so this morning I was listening to a podcast, and they started talking about Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and talking about how all of these different groups are trying to like claim her. And as they kept talking, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is like exactly what we were talking about in our conflict resolution class yesterday. And so I'm going to like use her as an example. Okay, so why am I having trouble with this? Here we go. So here we go. Looking at another example, here she is, U.S. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So if we were to create an identity web for her, what would it look like? What is it that, how do people see her? Okay, so it's actually a pretty complex identity web, and these are only things that are sort of like part of her public persona. I don't know her personally. I don't know what she's into, what her hobbies are, what her personal interests are. But if we were to look at all these different groups that are sort of trying to say, we identify with her, okay? So first and foremost, of course, she's a Democrat, okay? I don't think there's any getting around that. Wait, let's see, oops, sorry. She's a Democrat and she's the Vice President-elect. Now, what else is she though? Well, she's from California, And not only that, she's from Oakland, California. And if you know things about what Oakland, California stands for, then you would recognize that, like, that means that she, grew up in this city that's very well known for being a major part of the Black Civil Rights Movement. Okay, so this is part of what made her who she is. Like, she would, say this is part of her identity. I'm from Oakland, California. All right, she's female, and that's a really big deal because for women voters, they felt that, they felt that they could relate to her, and that, when she was having, for example, the debate with Vice President Mike Pence, and he interrupted her when she was speaking, and she said, "I'm speaking," right? There were all these different groups, especially women, who said, "She speaks for every woman who's ever been interrupted while speaking," right? So all these people, all these different groups stood up and said, we could relate to how she felt at that time, being female and being interrupted while speaking. Okay? And she was also, this is also something that's very much a part of her identity. She was raised to believe women can do anything. And if we go back, sorry, I'm heading back here, to like these different categories that we worked on yesterday, right? We're looking at her personal values and her interests, right? And her professional experiences, location, and family. These are all things that make up her identity web. Okay, getting back to where she is. Okay, she's the daughter of immigrants, okay? And this is another thing that all these immigrant people were saying, I'm voting for her because she stands for me. I'm also a daughter or a son of immigrants. She's a straight woman, okay? And that might not be something that necessarily stood out, but she is married to a Jewish man, okay? And so all these Jewish groups now were standing up and saying, hey, she's one of us, okay? Sort of by marriage, but yeah, she's a member of the tribe now. Also, she's a stepmom, okay? So for women who say were single for much of their lives and married later in life and became stepmothers, don't have their own children, they felt they could also relate to things about who she is. She's a lawyer, right? And she's the former California Attorney General. This is part of her professional experience. Also, and this is one of the things that really was the main concentration of the podcast that I was listening to, she's mixed race. And this is a really big deal, okay? Because for some people, she was just the first black, woman to reach such a high position in U.S. politics. But not only that, she's mixed race. She's black, being the daughter of a Jamaican father, okay? But she's also Asian. And not just Asian, she's South Asian or Indian. And so all these people, all these different groups were saying they could identify with her. They fall into categories that she shares. This is what makes up her social group identity. Okay, so I hope that, I'm having some trouble here. Okay, here we go. So I hope that that has helped to sort of pull things together and make some kind of put into context what it was that we did during yesterday's lesson. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.